Now is your chance to vote against Donald Trump, a man who believes his fame gives him the right to grab any part of a woman's body, whether it's your daughter, sister, mother, or wife. Right now, it's time to take action. It's time to gather every bit of energy, hope, optimism, enthusiasm, fear, frustration, and discouragement. Now is the time to show up and vote, like this country depends on it, because it does. Lady Gaga is about to take down Donald Trump in the most epic way possible. From her bold opinions to her outrageous style, Gaga isn't holding back as she calls out Trump for everything he's done wrong. It's a clash of pop culture and politics, and you won't believe the burns she delivers. Trump may think he's untouchable, but Gaga is ready to take him down a notch. Will Trump take the heat, or will Gaga leave him speechless? Trust us, you won't want to miss this. He claims that he represents people who have been unrepresented and who haven't had a voice. What's most important is for us to decipher what is real and what is not, what is honest and what is dishonest, and to accept those things without operating from fear. Before we move on, smash that like button and subscribe because you don't want to miss out on this. Lady Gaga has never been one to hold back. She's always been the bold one in the room, and when she decided to go after Donald Trump, it wasn't just a subtle jab. It was a full-on dismantling of everything Trump represents. You see, Trump, for all his self-proclaimed brilliance, has spent most of his life building a house of cards, and Lady Gaga just walked in and blowtorched it to the ground. The entire thing was nothing short of an epic roast, and let's just say, Trump didn't handle it well. Right now, in the USA, amidst a divisive presidential campaign, you've declared your support for Hillary Clinton. Yes, there will be a new president, and it could be Donald Trump. I have nothing to say about him. Let's be real for a second. Donald Trump is a master at saying things that sound good. But when you peel back the layers of his grandiose rhetoric, you're left with nothing but hot air and empty promises. He sold himself as a successful businessman, as a man of the people, and as the only one who could save America. But Gaga didn't just buy into the hype. She smacked it down with a few well-placed truths that left Trump's fragile ego wounded and the world laughing. What trans people are facing in this world is completely unfair, wrong, and involves daily violence in their lives. We need to support trans people and each other, acknowledging that they deserve to be supported and loved. You've seen Trump speak before, right? It's always the same thing: the best, the greatest, the biggest, and a shameless exaggeration of what he's done. He might say he knows more about the environment, wind, women, or even The Apprentice than anyone else. But his entire persona is based on self-promotion, built on lies and false narratives. Then here comes Lady Gaga, a woman who has built a career on authenticity, bravery, and standing up for what's right. When she decided to weigh in on Trump's incompetence, she didn't just criticize him. She unraveled the entire spectacle of his public life. First off, let's talk about Trump's handling of the pandemic. He went from calling it a hoax to bragging about his leadership, while downplaying the severity of the situation. We watched as Trump ignored the advice of public health experts, spent more time tweeting than managing the crisis, and made irresponsible decisions that led to unnecessary deaths. The man couldn't even manage to wear a mask without turning it into a political statement. Meanwhile, Lady Gaga, who had been vocal about her concerns, made it clear that Trump wasn't just a bad leader. He was a disaster in real time. When asked about her support for Hillary Clinton, she said she believes Clinton will do a good job. Unlike Trump, some people just want to win races, but Clinton will bring a real change. People aspire to be President of the United States, to change lives. And it's all about the intention. I believe that will reveal itself over time. People are intelligent, and I am optimistic that our nation is coming together. Now, you might wonder why Lady Gaga felt the need to get involved in politics. It's simple. She's a global icon, yes, but more importantly, she has used her platform for good, especially when fighting for marginalized communities' rights. She's advocated for mental health, LGBTQ+ rights, and social justice, using her influence to spark positive change. Unlike Trump, who uses his platform to create division, Gaga uses hers to bring people together. And here's the kicker. When Trump spoke about topics he didn't understand, like public health, human rights, or simply being a decent human being, Gaga couldn't let it slide. She called him out loudly. Lady Gaga's criticism became particularly significant given Trump's reckless behavior toward the press and his tendency to label any criticism of him as fake news. This level of narcissism and insecurity epitomized Trump's presidency. He couldn't handle the slightest criticism and, in true Trump fashion, blamed everyone else but himself. Gaga saw this, and while the political establishment tiptoed around it, she didn't. She directly addressed the absurdity of his actions, pointing out how his ego and insecurity led him to make decisions that hurt the American people. This wasn't leadership. It was self-preservation at the cost of everything else. Lady Gaga and Madonna both launched attacks on Trump over his executive orders related to LGBT issues, including banning transgender people from military service and prohibiting transition for those under 19. And of course, we can't forget Trump's constant need for validation. He's obsessed with his image, always seeking praise from his followers, while ignoring glaring issues under his watch. It's honestly laughable when you think about it. Trump spent more time tweeting than having meetings with world leaders. Gaga, on the other hand, has always been the opposite. Unapologetically herself, speaking her truth, regardless of the consequences. She didn't need a public relations campaign to make her look good. Her work spoke for itself. Trump, however, couldn't stop tweeting about his ratings, poll numbers, and how great he was at everything. What makes Lady Gaga's takedown of Trump so brilliant is how effortlessly she exposes him for what he truly is. A narcissistic fraud who thinks the world revolves around his brand. Trump doesn't know how to listen, learn, or even be a decent human being. He only knows how to shout and distract from the real issues. Gaga's responses were direct and no nonsense, cutting through the noise and getting to the heart of the matter. Trump's presidency was an embarrassment, and Gaga made sure everyone knew it. And we thank you for the opportunity and the blessing you've given us. Now let's talk about Trump's obsession with legacy. This is a man who would have sold his soul for a shiny reputation, even though he had no real accomplishments to back it up. Gaga, on the other hand, has built her legacy through hard work, dedication, and authenticity. Trump's legacy will be remembered as the man who divided the country, catered to the rich, and made everything about himself. Gaga's legacy, however, will be remembered as someone who stood for something bigger than herself, someone who fought for others when it mattered. That's the difference between them. Trump is a man standing on an empty pedestal, while Gaga stands with the people. What truly rattles Trump's cage, the thing that sends him into an absolute frenzy, is that Lady Gaga's words carry substance. Trump can tweet endlessly, throwing tantrums and distracting from the issues that matter. But Gaga has something he doesn't: substance, backed by authenticity. While Trump screeches into the void, hoping to drown out the truth with endless bluster, Gaga walks in and says it like it is. No gimmicks, no drama, just raw, unapologetic truth. And did you know why he's obsessed with the Panama Canal? Because he's really planning on owning it. A few years ago, he had a business there. A tall building, Trump Tower. Everything went belly up though. They even took his name off the building. He's still mad about it. That's why he's targeting the Panama Canal. Did you notice that President Trump, during his inaugural speech, mentioned William McKinley, the president from the late 1800s? Why is he so fascinated with McKinley? He even said they were going to rename Mount Denali back to Mount McKinley because it should be named that. McKinley was a businessman, and he was very interested in tariffs. And we know that Trump is fascinated and determined to tax imported goods, ensuring that other countries pay while America doesn't pay as much. This was one of his fascinations. When William McKinley first became president, one of his first acts was to sign a bill increasing tariffs on consumer goods. Talk to me about going into February for that next album, how you approached it differently after unlearning your singing technique. Well, when I went into the studio to record my 7th album, I wasn't thinking at all about creating a character in a film. I was just focused on what music I wanted to make next. I sang with everything in my body, in a really unique way. I think my singing on LG7 is actually very different from anything I've done before. Trump, for all his bluster and self-proclaimed bravado, is a man whose ego can't handle anything more than empty praise. He thrives on agitation, and when someone doesn't buy into his nonsense, he crumbles. Gaga, on the other hand, operates on a completely different level. She's been in the spotlight long enough to understand that real power doesn't come from how loud you scream. It comes from how strongly you can stand, even when the world tries to tear you down. She doesn't need to shout over everyone else. Her words carry weight, and that's why they hit Trump right where it hurts. In his fragile ego. What makes Gaga's critique so dangerous to Trump is that she's not just roasting him for sport. She's exposing his failings for the world to see. With every word, she shines a light on the lies he's told, the missteps he's made, and the damage he's caused. Without needing to raise her voice, Trump is used to deflecting criticism by drowning it out with a flurry of insults or turning it into a popularity contest. But with Gaga, there's no escape. She doesn't need to shout over him. She simply cuts through the noise and leaves him exposed. Lady Gaga is not too good. I could tell you plenty of stories about Lady Gaga. I know a lot of stories about her. The key difference between Trump's responses and Gaga's critiques is that she's grounded in reality, while Trump is floating in a sea of delusion. When Gaga speaks, there's an effortless clarity to her words. They're real. They come from a place of authenticity, and they resonate. Trump, on the other hand, can't handle anything that challenges his own narrative. Every time someone questions his missteps or failures, he screams fake news or deflects with an attack. He's a man living in a bubble, protected by his own defense, unable to comprehend the damage he's done because he's convinced himself that he's above it all. But Gaga doesn't need to pander. She's more than capable of looking him in the eye and saying what needs to be said. What's fascinating about Trump's reaction to Gaga is that his skin isn't just thin. It's practically transparent. Any challenge to his power or image sends him into a tantrum because deep down, he knows that his entire public persona is shaky at best. Gaga doesn't need to insult him with a hurricane of words. Her calm, sharp observations cut through the nonsense like a scalpel. Trump may be used to dominating conversations with noise, but Gaga dismantles his arguments with nothing but facts, grace, and precision. The other day, he was speaking at a rally and said she has no memory of how she got to the party. Should we trust that she remembers the assault? The answer is yes. Trump's entire survival strategy has been about deflection and intimidation. He plays the game of smoke and mirrors, hoping no one gets close enough to see the truth. That his accomplishments superficial, his policies self-serving, and his character questionable at best. Gaga, however, is not intimidated by his bombastic theatrics. She doesn't get sidetracked by his loud proclamations or attempts to dominate the conversation. Instead, she cuts through the fog and calls it like it is. Trump wants to be the king of controversy, but Gaga is the queen of truth. Every time he tries to change the subject, every time he throws out wild accusations or tries to gaslight the public, Gaga's voice rings out with something much more powerful: clarity. And that's something Trump will never be able to withstand. They were numbers. Okay, when my mum was a little girl, she's a little older than you. All the demerits at the end. I'm 100, so she must be old. You've been an outspoken activist for women and the LGBTQ community. Are you okay talking about politics?